NFL Last Bowl Boxing live show Thursday night, as usual, joined by the two regulars. Daz Medcoff, how are you, pal?
All right, mate. Good to you.
Good, mate. Good. I'll talk to you in a second about Nick. But Sean, how are you, pal?
Evening, guys. Yeah, good. Good, thanks. Hope you're both well.
All good, mate. What's happening in your world?
I had a bit of a nightmare technology-wise, waiting for my phone to get repaired for about 6 weeks, insurance, all that kind of mad stuff.
Always a nightmare, mate, isn't it?
Yeah.
I appreciate you getting on there, mate. All good. Daz, I know I've done an interview with Nick, and it's on the channel. We've talked in depth about the rescheduled date. Do you want to, just for anyone that's not watched that might be watching this live, do you want to talk a little bit about what's been going on?
Yeah, Nick were due to fight Marie Connon this Saturday for IBO flyweight title. Due to a lot of pull-outs on the show actually got cancelled, which is fair enough. I mean, you can't have a world title fight with basically no chiefs, supporting acts.
One of those was a British title, British final eliminator, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a British flyweight title. There was also a Commonwealth silver title. So it made sense, to be fair. The new date's 19th of July. Same venue, Skate Central. Same result.
Get in. Right. I just thought I'd add that on there. Anyone that wants a bit more detail, I went and met Nick at the weekend. We had a coffee, a sit down, and quite a long chat, which is on the channel. About a 20-minute interview. Interesting. We talk about that and a lot of other things. So get yourselves watching it, and then drop comments in the bottom. Let me know what you think. Okay, straight on with the show then. So we're going to talk a little bit about last weekend's card because we haven't done that. The Callum Simpson fight and obviously Fabio Wardley's heroics in round 10 of that fight. And then we'll talk about the potential of the Moses Itauma Dillian Whyte. And then finally, we'll go on to comments that Turkey Ala Sheikh's made on Twitter. He likes that platform, don't he? Kind of gets everyone riled up. But let's go straight into it. We'll start off with Fabio Wardley because I think it'd be rude not to. I think a few of us, Daz. I think a few of us fancied Fabio late. I don't think anybody expected it to be as dramatic as this, though.
No, I actually had a cheeky flutter on it. I fancied it late, between 9 and 12. I think I had. I didn't expect him to be as behind as what he was, though, or what he should have been. Thought he would have had his moments, but listen, Fabio's he's probably one of my favourite fighters to watch at the minute. You've got to enjoy him while he's here because the way he fights makes for a short career. But there's going to be some exciting times with him. Do you match him? Sort of carefully. Can you match him sort of carefully? I don't think you can. I think he's now at that thing where he's fringe world level. I think, or he should be fighting at fringe world level. Listen, he takes far too many punches. Let's be honest, he's against someone who's skillful and can punch. He's not seeing later rounds, I don't think. And that's no disservice to Fabio, yeah, sorry. Little punch drunk there, his own. Yeah, it's no disservice to Fabio at all because, like I say, he's one of my favourite fighters to watch. I'd actually buy a ticket to go to watch him fight. And you just sometimes you just cringe a bit. I mean, I remember I was watching it and I thought, I mean, only listen, Justice Honey's a big lad, but it's a good job he's not an out and out banger.
Yeah.
But like I said, we just got to enjoy Fabio while he's fighting, and good luck to him. What a story it'd be, even if he fights for a world title or even an eliminator. You know, it's one of them, isn't it? I read he used to be a recruitment consultant. I mean, you ring him up and argue about your wages. You know, if he says it's Christmas, you start singing carols, don't you? You know, it's and I go back to that unlicensed scene. Oh, poor Getz who ended up fighting him because no matter how raw he was, that power's still there.
Ridiculous.
You know, he can punch. He's a proper banger.
He can punch stars, and he's also with the team he's got behind him in Ben Davison. He's learned how to harness that power. So he's punching clean now.
Yeah, he has. It's just the amount of fisty techs.
Yeah.
Till he lands.
Yeah.
That's the big problem.
Yeah.
You know, listen, this is like I said, this is no disrespect to Fabio whatsoever. And sat in a room on his own, he might think, yeah, you know, against someone who's as skillful as Justice and that can punch hard, I could be in trouble. But while ever he's on his feet, he's a danger. So, you know, like I say, no matter his flaws or anything, let's just enjoy him because I think he's going to give us another few good, exciting nights, I think.
Absolutely. Sean, you could clearly see the difference in skill level. Again, no disrespect to Fabio. We're talking. We've got to get this into a little bit of context. No amateur fights, and I think he only had 4 white collar fights before he turned pro. That's unheard of. To then go on and win a British title, to then go on and we're talking about him now fighting at fringe world level and maybe world level, and also. I'm absolutely certain Justice Honey goes on and beats a lot of top guys.
100%.
Because of the skill level he's got.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, to break it down for me, mate. I mean, like I say, we've got to take it into a bit of context here, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's an incredible achievement, as you say, how far Fabio's got, where perhaps he's reached the ceiling in a way. But even if he does go on to fight for a world title, a limiter, or even a world title, that's an incredible achievement, as you boys have said. I actually thought around 8 or 9 rounds into it, I actually thought Ben Davison was half considering pulling him out when he had a real sort of stern word and he was whispering to him. I thought, this could be the end of Fabio in this fight here. Because let's face it, he was getting his head punched all over the ring in that fight until he pulled that punch out the bag. And I've seen a lot of comparisons recently with Deontay Wilder and Fabio Whyte because he's got that punch in him, but I don't see that myself. I think Whyte's a bit of a better boxer. But as Daz said, it's just his defence and he ships a bit too many shots and it's only going to end badly for him one day.
He's learning very quickly. I mean, we've got to give him a little bit here. And we are doing, you know, credit where it's due. You know, you name me another fighter that's done what he's done, Daz, especially in the heavyweight division.
Nobody really. Not to my knowledge.
No, I can't think of one either.
I mean, I'm not too sure of his amateur pedigree, but I know Nick Blackwell had a lot of unlicensed fights, I think. Right. And I think he won a British title.
Yeah.
I presume Nick would have had some amateur fights, though.
Yeah, potentially.
Listen, I'm not even going to go into the fact that the heavyweight division at the minute is dire. I'm not doing that because Justice Honey is a good fighter.
Yeah.
You know, Olympian, good fighter, sound fundamental. And do you know what? I think we've got to give Justice Honey some credit as well because his attitude after it was like, yeah, shit happens. It's heavyweight boxing. And also, let's not forget, Justice Honey stepped in at late notice as well.
Yeah, he did.
So,
he probably does. He probably got a little bit too comfortable because
It was too easy.
he was winning the fight easily, and the problem that he had was he was winning the fight easily because he was landing shots and then not being there.
If I remember, I think his corner told him to go after Fabio.
Well, that was the trouble, wasn't it? Because he stood and he tried to trade with him.
Yeah.
And
You see,
earlier on he was punching and moving, but for that
10th round.
That 10th round, but that combination of 5 or 6 shots,
Yeah.
when Fabio landed that short right hook, Uni didn't move, planted his feet.
Yeah. Well, this alludes, this sort of stuff, I mean, alludes to what we're going to talk about later on.
It does, and we might even bring this up when we do talk about that, actually.
Well, yeah, 100%, mate. I mean, first thing I thought of when I saw the comments, obviously we'll talk about it in a bit, but the first thing I thought of when I saw the comments was the Wardley Justice Uni fight.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But, to finish, I'll say, listen, Fabio was probably one of the only fighters I'd buy a ticket to watch. So, yeah, full credit to him. Full credit to him.
Sean, just quickly, mate. Don't want to spend too long on it, but who would you put Fabio in with next? Because, like Daz has just said, you do one or two things. You either match him really carefully, or you just let him off the leash.
Yeah, I've got a sneaker. I don't know when he's going to have his 50th fight, but I've got a feeling they'll chuck him in with Chisora. It's an easy in-house fight to make. Carries on building up Fabio. It'd be a good fight for him. I can see that. On the other spectrum, you've obviously got someone like Moses Itauma, who we're going to speak about tonight as well. I mean, that's another in-house fight they could make. So there's two. But I wouldn't mind seeing the Jarrell Miller fight, to be honest. I know he's a drug sheet and everything, but I still think that would be a good fight for Fabio.
Yeah, that's one of them, mate, where Fabio's just going to tee off on him all night long. Jarrell Miller has nowhere near the skill level that Justice Sonny's got. Who would you put him in with?
To be honest, mate, there's a couple. Maybe Caballel. Yui Fiore. I'm trying to think. Probably them. Either of them two now. Yui Fiore or Caballel.
Both of them very experienced at the higher level, especially Yui Fiore.
Yeah.
He's very durable as well. I mean, if anyone's going to take Fabio's shots, it's going to be Fiore, isn't it? So.
Yeah, well, I don't think Yui would be there to eat them clean, if I'm honest. So it's a good.
Yeah. Well, he rides a shot really well, don't he?
Yeah, so it's a good. Listen, I'd make Yui Fiore slight favourite.
Yeah.
Going into that.
Yeah.
Obviously, past couple of performances and much more the opponents, I think, Yui haven't been fantastic. But listen, you don't lose how to be a world-class fighter. So. Yeah, it'd be an interesting fight. Caballel, I think, would be a big favourite. But, it's very interesting because Caballel likes to be in front and land them body shots.
The problem is, Justice Sonny's probably given the blueprint on how to beat Fabio Wardley.
Yeah, just don't be there for replies.
Don't be there for the replies.
Yeah.
Easier said than done for 12 rounds.
Yeah, he got complacent. He thought, I've got him. And he planted his feet. And Fabio planted him. It happens.
Yeah, simple as that, isn't it? Okay, lads. Moving on to the other card, the other stadium fight up in Barnsley. British super middleweight, who was fighting for the EBU super middleweight title against Ivan Zuko. We're obviously talking about Callum Simpson. Sean, I'll start with you. Have you watched this one back? And what was your his performance?
Yeah, I mean, it couldn't have started any worse for him, could it? On his pants in about 10 seconds into the fight. Really a mixed performance from him, I think. He obviously showed he's a good boxer, which we knew already. He's got a bit of power. But it's left me with more question marks than answers of what his level is and how good he is, to be honest. I mean, an obvious fight we could see is Hamza Shiraz. Now he's moved up. I think that'd be a good all British fight. But for me, with Simpson, again, I just generally left with more questions than answers after his fight last weekend.
Daz, are we underestimating how good Ivan Zuko was? Or were we underestimating it before the fight? I think, are you running behind, Daz? You're not hearing me.
Yeah, I'm just having a couple of
I
little
think
connection
you're lagging,
issues.
mate.
Can you just repeat that?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Right, okay.
Yeah,
I was just saying, did we underestimate Ivan Zuko a little bit before the fight? Did he bring more than we expected?
I think you're a bit of an unknown. You know, I spoke to Mark. As you know, I go to Callum's gym with Nick, and we do a lot of sparring. And Mark, you know, Mark's a good friend, Callum's trainer.
Yeah.
And he said, you know, they had a common opponent, I think, and he actually said that Zuko did a better job on this common opponent. But yeah, relatively, I think, quite unknown. Obviously, you know, he was a fairly sharp puncher. But listen, I totally agree with Sean. There's a lot of questions, but I think Callum's answered a big question. You know, he's been put over and he's got straight back up and won the fight. So to me, that's a big tick. Yeah, fair enough. Shouldn't be getting dropped in 8 seconds, and I think Callum would be first to admit that. I think he was a little. I didn't really see much of the fight, but he was a little square on, I believe, for the second.
He was very square.
For the
second one, Daz, he switched off, mate, because he walked. Zuko was on the ropes, and Callum walked towards him with his hands down.
Yeah,
and he just got caught.
Yeah, you know, listen, he'll probably not do that again. Mark will probably give him a bit of a. But no, listen, Callum's a very good fighter, very, very good fighter, and it's a learning curve. You know, he'll probably think to himself, "I'm not doing that again." Got to remember as well, big occasion, massive occasion. You know, his hometown football ground and the amount of support he's getting, it adds a certain bit of pressure. You know, he'd have wanted to perform, and you know, little distractions could have been there, but you know, he actually said like later on in the fight, he was thinking of his sister. You know, listen, and look what he did. I mean, that's the whole motivation you probably need is, you know. But he's a clever lad, clever fighter, and I think he'll learn from this, and I think he'll come back better.
I actually think, Daz, that the way that the fight panned out is going to do Callum the world of good going forward.
Yeah, because let's be honest. I mean, you can't walk square on into Shiraz. You know, you can't walk square on into Belanga if he wins. You can't walk square on into anybody really, else you're going to get put on your backside. You know what I mean? It was probably just a bit of bravado. He probably just thought, you know, I'm gonna take him out, and then
I don't actually think though, Daz, in either of the knockdowns, I don't think he was hurt.
No, I don't. I mean, the first one, I think
the second one he was square on, and it was more a balance issue. The first one, it would just come out of the blue, didn't it? He just walked.
He just got caught. He got caught slacking. Yeah.
He
just probably had his, you know, he weren't fully concentrating, and a shot got through, and yeah, you know, but it was straight back up. You could see in his face he wasn't hurt.
See, for me now, there's only one thing Callum can do, and that's move forward.
Yeah,
he can't be hanging around. He can't be hanging around fighting other British opponents or fighting European fighters that he's going to knock over easy. He needs to be going and fighting top 5, top 10, top 5 world ranked. He's in the rankings now himself. I'm going to throw a few names at you. There's obvious ones. Hamza Shiraz versus Edgar Berlanga, the winner of that.
You know what I'd like to, yeah, you know what I'd see him fight? Caleb Plant.
That was another name I was going to bring up.
No, sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. So yeah. Caleb Plant is probably maybe slightly on the decline. Slightly. He's probably past his peak, but that might be a good shout. But you talk. What about the other fighters that are in that top 10? What about Diego Pacheco, or even former European champion Kevin Sajo?
Yeah. I tell you what, as well, I wouldn't be surprised if in the near future we don't see Callum v Ben Whittaker.
I think maybe, but I think Callum I'd like to get a shot at a world title at super middleweight before he moves up.
Yeah, maybe.
Ben Whittaker coming down to super mid.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think Callum moving up. I honestly don't know how he makes super middleweight.
No, he's massive, isn't he?
Yeah. I honestly don't know how he makes it. I actually said that to him, and Jim says, "How do you make super middleweight?
You must have all the legs."
Well, I says you must have your nutritionist must be called Merlin. Must be a wizard.
Well, he does, and to be honest with you, mate, he doesn't even look like he struggles to make.
No.
And so he's clearly got a lot left. You know, he's not tight. I don't think he's tight at the weight at all. He didn't look tight at the weight at all on Friday.
Super fit, mate. Super fit.
So it's really interesting, mate. But they've definitely got to push him against one of the fighters that are slightly higher than him in the rankings, and probably not hang around for Shiraz straight away. That fight doesn't have to get made now. It's a massive fight, even bigger if one of them's a world champion. I'll be honest, mate, I don't see Canelo fighting on much longer after the Crawford fight.
No,
Win, lose, or draw.
Mate, I think Canelo's probably done after Crawford because I think Crawford beats him.
Well, if Crawford doesn't beat him, then them belts get fragmented anyway. So there's a very good chance that Hamza might fight for one, Callum might fight for one against somebody. Obviously, they got to been manoeuvred by the promoters, but that's easily enough done. It's very interesting, isn't it? With the two English boys in there.
Yeah, definitely.
Sean, anyone else you can think of you might want to put him in with?
Yeah, a name just popped into my head as you guys were talking, actually. I don't know if you think it's to a high step up, but William Skull, who Canelo beat for the unification, that could be a good fight for him.
Apart from the fact that he'll run all night.
Huh.
Yeah. We know a certain someone that won't be promoting that.
That's not going on. That's not going on any fights over that way, is it?
No.
We'll talk about that. That's a little comment for a topic coming up very shortly. Okay. Third topic, lads. It's obviously not a secret now that this fight, they're trying to make this fight, and it looks like it's going to happen. And that's Moses Itauma versus Dillian Whyte. So Dillian Whyte was pulled off the card recent because apparently he was going to be having a massive fight. And it looks like it's Moses Itauma that he's going to be fighting. Instant reaction, Daz?
I don't like it, if I'm honest. Dillian's way past his best. You know, like I was saying earlier about Wardley's next opponents, I think put Moses in that same bracket. Put Moses in with Hughie Fury. Put Moses in with Fabio Wardley. You know, and probably Caballel as well, because Moses's amateur experience is quite big. He looks very accomplished. So I mean, to me, I'm not overly keen on this. Not at all.
How does it end, Daz?
I think it ends with Dillian Whyte getting stopped, if I'm honest.
Sean?
I agree with that.
Do you agree with what Daz is saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a horrible fight for Dylan Whyte. It almost confirms what we think and what we're saying, that he's washed, because obviously he was pulled for the fear of losing on that Ipswich card.
Yeah.
So that says a lot in itself, in my opinion. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if Itauma wipes him out inside 4, you know.
Yeah, I mean, from what I saw of the last outing from Dylan, he's a shadow of his former self, which is a shame. You know, he got his one. It took forever for him to get that world title shot, and when he did, he wasn't at the game. He wasn't at the races. It's sad, really, because he at one point he was quite a dangerous fighter in the division, wasn't he? But for whatever reason, being out of the ring for quite some time, he's just not the same fighter anymore. And I actually agree with both of you. I don't like the fight. It's a bit. The problem is, it's a bit of a no-win situation for Moses, in my opinion, because yeah, he's a big name. Dillian's a big name, but everybody knows that Dillian's not the fighter he was. So if Moses does destroy him in a couple of rounds, everyone's going to go, well, Dillian was way past his best anyway. And if Dillian takes Moses the distance, everyone's going to go, well, Dillian's not the puncher we thought he was. Moses isn't the puncher we thought he was. You know, he's not the fighter that everyone's making him out to be. So it's kind of a no-win situation for Moses Itauma. He needs fighters. He needs fighters that are sharp, that want to come at him. You'll get the best out of him then. What he doesn't need are defensive slick fighters. He likes a fighter to come on. He likes to counterpunch. They've got to match him right. Dillian Whyte's going to come at him. There's no two ways about that. And he'll swing them big bombs like he does. And Moses will probably just time him. That's how I see the fight panning out, if I'm being completely honest. Right, lads. Last topic of the night. And this is a really interesting one. Turkey Al Sheikh's not afraid of comments on X. He puts stuff out regular. This one's got us all heads a bit scratched. So I'm not going to read it word for word, but I'll give you an outline of what the tweet was. And it's something along the lines of Turkey Al Sheikh and Riyadh Boxing and the Ring magazine will no longer support Tom and Jerry type boxing. And what he means by that is one fighter running and another fighter chasing. All he wants to do is see fighters leave everything in the ring. That's the quote. That's pretty much the comment. Daz, what's your reaction to that?
Talking out his backside, to be fair. Shows that he knows nothing about boxing. He's just got loads of money, and he thinks that entitles him to, for me, disrespect boxers. If your style's to hit, move, not get it, who is he to tell you?
You're not allowed to do that.
You're not allowed to do that in Riyadh season. Who's he? Do you know what I mean? It's just ridiculous. I think the man's become a bit of a what's the best word? A bit of a monster, to be fair. He's been allowed to get involved in boxing, and he's just suddenly, he's trying to dictate how people fight. And the day, it's ludicrous, absolutely ludicrous. I mean, I'm not being funny, but if I ever had a fighter on a Riyadh season show, my fighter was a boxer against a puncher, my fighter was, boxing the head off, and he was complaining, he'd be getting told where to stick his headgear. Do you know what I mean? It's ridiculous. money does not, just because you've got loads of money and you're paying fighters well, does not mean you can tell them how to fight. Would he have told Mayweather to not be so defensive? Do you know what I mean? I mean, listen, let's rewind. What? Muhammad Ali were Jerry then, were as Cassius Clay?
Well, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So basically, he's saying that Cassius Clay never left it all in the ring. I think he needs to watch the first Sonny Liston fight and the Henry Cooper fight, and educate himself a little bit on boxing before he starts spouting his nonsense. I mean, Cassius Clay, as he was then, fought Sonny Liston for 2 rounds and he could hardly see. He had something in his eyes. So, what? I mean, does that mean he didn't leave it all in ring? He didn't show art? He got dropped off Henry Cooper with a shot that had probably knocked an horse out. He got up and, did what he did. So, did he not show art? Listen, I can Pernell Whitaker. Oh, I'm sorry. What did he not show art then? Did he? What was he not leaving it all in the ring when he absolutely boxed Chavez's head off and got ripped off? Do you know what I mean? Listen, the list never ends. Do you know what I mean? The list never ends. It's like I just think it's absolutely ludicrous, and it riles me, to be honest. I just think, who are you to tell boxers how they should box? If he looks at a fighter, and on them comments, I expect not to see Devon Haney in a Riyadh season ring. I expect Shakur Stevenson to not be seen in a Riyadh season ring. So what happens? What's Terence Crawford supposed to do then? Stand toe to toe with Canelo? Do you know what I mean?
Just before I bring Sean in, I agree with everything you've said, by the way, Daz. Just before I bring Sean, let me play devil's advocate a little bit.
No, don't want
to. Is he reacting to the negative comments about the cards, the card from Times Square and the other card that was on that weekend? Is he reacting to how bad those negative comments were, and this is his reaction to it?
Do you know what? Right, if it is, that's poor as well. If it's a reaction to that, the fact that he's come out on social media and said that is totally disrespectful and it's pathetic, right? If he wanted to address it, listen, let's be honest, they stunk the place out.
Yeah.
Right? So why not speak to him privately? And I mean, listen, Devon Haney's a boxer, but he was even more negative than he ever was. Teofimo Lopez is quite an aggressive boxer puncher, but he was thinking, so, why not just say, come on, lads, you need to do a bit better than that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Not telling them what they must do, because I tell you now, Terence Crawford is not going to stand toe to toe with Canelo.
Of course,
he's going to try and outbox him, right? And for me, he's going to outbox him. So if he outboxes Canelo, right, I can see Crawford winning first 9 rounds, and then Canelo getting closer and winning last, 3 or 4, right? So what's he going to say then? Oh, Crawford didn't deserve to win because he ran off. Do you know what I mean? He's moving up 2 weights. Come on. It's just ridiculous. Amir Khan, when he fought Canelo, he were boxing Canelo's head off to start, held his feet, bang, night. Do you know what I mean?
Let me bring Sean in, Daz, before your head explodes. Sean, I'm assuming you're kind of going to agree with what Daz is saying, but have you got anything to add?
Yeah, I think it might not be all coming from Turkey. I think it's his new best friend over in America that's this now super boxing promoter. I think that's who's behind the comments, really. Yeah,
About.
Yeah, exactly. Because you see it in the UFC, if they have a fight a bit like that, he's always slagging it off and slagging fighters off if they're not in like performance of the night or whatever they call it. So I think it's his influence that's sort of being thrust upon Turkey to a degree. But yeah, Daz was spot on with everything he said. Really, all the fights in the past that was never honest.
Just before you carry on, Sean, sorry. While it's in my head, I need to say it. Dana White, this is a man who watches grown men cuddle on floor for 5 rounds and then labels them as best fighters in the world. Do you know what I mean? Listen, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I've got 100% respect for it. I'm not slagging Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu off. But this is boxing. This isn't mixed martial arts. Do you know what I mean?
It's completely different.
It's boxing. It's completely different. Yeah, completely different. So, Dana needs to, if it is coming from him, he needs to take his tongue out, take his arse, and get his own opinion. And, but listen, we all become prostitutes for money, don't we? Do you know what I mean?
Not all of us, mate.
No, but we would, mate. We would. Listen, we would. Let's be honest. If someone, I know you don't really like Misfits, Andy. But if someone offered you 50 grand to go and watch it, you'd go and watch it, wouldn't you?
If someone offered me 50 grand to go and sit in the audience and watch it, of course I would.
Or report on it, yeah. Or to go and report on it. Yeah, you would. Yeah, because I hope you would, because then you can lend me a tenner. But no, do you know what I mean? Listen, these things that that money does buy. But going back to, I've gone off on a bit of a tangent there, but going back to Turkey's comments, money does not allow you to tell a professional fighter how to fight. That's bottom line of it for me. And if you
well, I mean, if they are going down that route, Daz, and he is saying that basically, if you don't stand and train, you're not coming on a Riyadh season, and you're not going on a Ring magazine show, then we've got problems, haven't we?
Of course we have, mate. Of course we have.
Sean, let me come back to you. Let you finish your opinion.
Yeah, sorry, Sean.
No worries. Yeah. So I think that's where the influence is coming from. I mean, Turkey's probably the kind of guy, if he has an operation and the surgeon says it's going to be keyhole, he would insist it's open surgery. He just seems that type of guy. So yeah, I think he's a bit well, everything's gone to his head basically, all the power that he's got, all the fighters that he signed. I think coincidentally, didn't he put a plea out for boxers or fight suggestions for the Crawford and Canelo undercard?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, it's just a bit all strange.
He actually said anyone who's got like, in so many words, anyone who's got balls and you want to be on show, get in touch. I mean, if he's going to pay people to stand in a ring and swing like they've had 10 pints outside a boozer at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'll give him a ring. I can do that now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Sean, I think you hit the nail on the head, and Daz has obviously commented on it as well. There probably is a bit of influence, and he probably has got Dana White whispering in his ear, because the UFC is a certain model that's worked brilliantly. The guy's been a genius in the mixed martial art arena, but you have to engage in mixed martial arts. You're either a Brazilian jiu-jitsu artist, you're a wrestler, or you're a striker. So there's no slick back foot boxing. It's all aggression. That's what that sport's based on. So you are, and he pays in his fights. He pays an extra amount of money for the best knockout of the night.
Well, any knockout. If you knock anyone out on his shows, you get 50 grand.
Right. So it's a completely different model, though. You can't do that to fighters. You can't do that. This sport's been hundreds of years. People have been boxing different ways. It's what makes boxing beautiful. The fact that you've got and what's the saying?
Styles make fights.
Styles make fights.
Yeah.
You get and the best fights in the world are a slick back foot boxer against a Mexican style come forward aggressive fighter.
Meldrick Taylor Chavez, Pernell Whitaker Chavez. You know, and then listen, we can go down list of fights. I mean, there's a comment inside. I don't know if you can see it, Andy. Last Bell Boxing. Presume that's Carl's.
Yeah, Carl's put. I suspect Jake Paul tells boxers how to fight in contracts.
No chance. Not a chance.
Certainly not on his promotion. When he's a promoter, certainly not on his promotion.
No, definitely not.
And we're talking about the big promotion that's coming up on Netflix, the big fight show that's coming up, all female card. He definitely isn't telling those girls how to fight.
Listen, what's he gonna? I mean, you've got a girl on there. You've got two women fighting on there. You've got Sharetta Metcalf, who does more laps than Liz McColgan at ring, and then you've got Chanika Johnson, quite aggressive. So you telling me that he's gonna tell Sharetta Metcalf you've got to hold your feet and stand and fight? No chance.
Well, I mean, but that's a perfect example of styles make fights. It's a very interesting fight that does. Isn't it?
He's actually put as well. I mean, when he fights about what fighters can do and don't and not. Well, yeah. I mean, listen. If I were going to fight Mike Tyson, I don't care how old he is, I'd be telling him he's not allowed to smack me on chin and all. Do we slag him off for that, or do we load his business brain?
Well, I mean, you know my thoughts on.
He's actually got paid an absolute obscene amount of money. He's absolutely paid Mike Tyson an obscene amount of money just to have a move around with someone who he, you know, since he's been boxing, he idolised. You know, I'm not saying he's been a lifelong fan of him, because I mean, he were on Disney Channel, weren't he? When Tyson were talking about eating people's kids, he's making videos in his bedroom. But I think since he's been boxing, you know, how can you not respect Tyson?
It's an odd one, mate, because I have nothing but respect for him as a promoter. I think what he's doing for female boxing is nothing short of spectacular, because nobody else cares. But I don't need to go back over it. You know, I've said 1,000,001 times on this show what I think about the people that he fights, the people that he's been in with, and then the people that he calls out. So I'm not going to go back over that. But Carl's put another one in the comments. Stipulations in contracts. There's no place for that either. Don't pretend to be a fighting man or fighter then. Don't pretend to be a fighter then. There's no proof that that's what Jake Paul does. But that's a completely different thing for me, because that's not the very top end of world boxing. That's him on a show. He's building his way in boxing. He's fighting either ex-professionals that are getting on, or he's fighting mixed martial artists. He's not fighting world level fighter v world level fighter, or British level fighter v. There's not a belt on the line like there is in these Riyadh seasons, where, you know, half the time it's for multiple world titles. It's a completely different thing.
Look at his brother. I mean, his brother got in with Mayweather, and now look at his brother. Has got like a contract with wrestling, WWE.
Yeah.
You know, they said he's selling himself in all sorts of things. You know, what he's doing promotion-wise is amazing. Yeah, what he's doing boxing himself-wise is a bit laughable. But listen, do you think he cares about my opinion?
He don't care about anyone's opinion, mate.
You know, he's doing Jake Paul's doing Jake Paul, and he's got a fat bank balance. He's got a nice-looking woman. He's got nice cars. Got a massive house. He's loving life.
And as long as people are filling out stadiums to watch him do it, he's going to carry on doing it. Sean, just back to the original topic,
exactly.
mate. We've gone off on a bit of a tangent there, but back to the original topic. And I mean, how does this pan out? Because Turki Al Sheikh's running roughshod across boxing. we've just talked there about what Jake Paul's doing for female boxing. He's having to do that for female boxing because nobody else is, and none of them are doing it because of Turkey Al Sheikh's import. Let's be completely brutally honest about that. That's obvious.
I said this from start when he got involved in boxing. He said women's boxing will suffer.
So where does this go, Sean? Because if he's the one calling all the shots, if he's saying I'll put fighters on my shows, but I'm only going to put them on my shows if in his words they leave it all in the ring, where does it stop, mate?
Yeah, I think the other intriguing thing that's not been mentioned, or I've not seen mentioned too much, is the fact how he's supposed to. I don't know if he has shares in DAZN, but I know he's somehow intertwined with them, and he's got the Crawford and Canelo fight on Netflix. I don't know how that's going to sit with DAZN. Obviously, it's unlikely that they'll stand up to him, but I could see a world where his influence starts to fragment, and perhaps the rise of Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren come again for the boxers that he doesn't want to promote. So, yeah, it's going to be a case of watch this space for this, I think. But yeah, I can just see it being a really messy situation, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it, that if they do get this boxing league off the ground, where he's gonna take the Ring Magazine belt and run away with it, and only use it for fighters on this boxing league that he's on about, this UFC style, the top 10 fighters in the world in that ranking, in that weight class, all fight each other. The idea is great, but then what about the other thousands and thousands of fighters that are not going to make the top 10? What about the other thousands? Where do they go then? So there is going to be room for other promotions. The problem you've got is then that if he does go off and do that and he doesn't do anything else, where's all the money dries up, and then the fighters that were getting loads of money, expecting loads of money, all of a sudden they're not going to be getting it.
You would imagine that there's other guys in Saudi that have got similar amounts of money to Turkey that probably want to rival him. They've probably seen all the money he's making. So potentially, there could be a bit of a rivalry in that sense where another Turkey comes into the sport for those kind of guys. I guess that could be a possibility.
Well, we had that originally, didn't we? Eddie earned that first Eddie Earn card over there. That wasn't with Turkey. That was that was with somebody else, but that dried up quickly. There was a reason why that didn't carry on, and Turkey kind of took control, didn't it? It's difficult because everyone's kind of relying on him now. And the reason all the promoters back down is pretty much what Daz said. If you give someone enough money, they'll do whatever. It's going to be interesting to see, because lots and lots of American fighters are back foot slick fighters, especially in this modern generation. You don't get very many aggressive Mexican style come forward aggressive fighters coming out of middle America or California or New York. They're generally back foot fighters. Where does that leave all them? I mean, I've just said it to Sean there, guys. Where does this all stop? I mean, where do you think it all goes?
I don't know, mate, to be fair. I mean, he's just trying to control everything, isn't he? And it just needs to stop now. But fighters will probably do as they're told. Fighters will probably fight in a different way. But if they lose fights because of it, they'll be kicking themselves.
I think what is interesting, lads, is Netflix influence, because they can reach a much bigger market than DAZN. They've already got the subscribers, haven't they? It's already sat there waiting. It's a completely different thing, but they've just bought the rights, haven't they, to to WWE, and that's taken that to another level by all account. You've obviously then got the all female card on Most Valuable Promotions going on Netflix. You've got Canelo Crawford going on Netflix. If those two shows are really successful in terms of numbers, Netflix are going to go all in, and you're going to see massive shows going on there. So then, like Daz's kind of, I think was it Daz said it or you said it. Where does that leave? Where does that leave DAZN? Are they going to feel like the nose has been put out of joint a little bit? Was that? I
Yeah,
think
the other thing as well, I think they've got most of the fighters. I know Anthony Joshua is one in particular. They're contracted with DAZN as a sort of TV network as well. So it's not like he could just go and fight on Netflix. So if they do want to stay in boxing, I mean, let's be honest, they're not gonna stay in boxing for an ordinary Saturday night fight night. It's going to be for these big names and big events.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if they can just pull them away from DAZN because they're contractually obliged to box on that.
Daz, before we close the show out,
Yeah,
the last word for you, mate.
Yeah, I agree, mate. Netflix is a very powerful channel. So maybe them getting involved in boxing won't be a bad thing.
I mean, is he testing the waters with Crawford, Canelo, and are we going to end up seeing this boxing league? Are we going to see that going on Netflix? As you know,
Who knows,
could that
mate?
have already been discussed? Is that the plan?
Who knows? You know, only Turkey knows.
Right, lads. We'll leave it there. That's a talking point that can go on forever and ever. I'm sure we'll revisit it. If we start seeing fights over on Riyadh season cards, and we're not getting fighters that are back foot fighting, it's all aggression. It's going to change what boxing is, in my opinion. But let's see how it pans out. For now, we'll call it a show. Daz, pleasure always, mate. Thanks for joining.
Mate. Nice one.
Sean, again, thanks, mate.
Thanks, mate.
This has been Last Bell Boxing. Like, comment, subscribe. Drop your comments in the comments bar. We'll bring them up next time. We'll answer them for you as well. Anything you want to hear us talk about as well. If it's a particular topic you're interested in, let us know, and we'll do it as a show. But for now, thanks for joining. This has been Last Bell Boxing. See you soon.